like I said, for people who haven't been in one of these before, they're rather loose. I just explain what happened. You got questions when we're done, just fire them out. Not a problem at all, okay? Yesterday, the Cape Coral Police Department arrested Kenneth Pearson for possession of a firearm on school grounds at Oasis Charter School. This happened in the afternoon yesterday. We became aware of it in the later part of the afternoon, as is custom business here at the police department. Anything of note we're going to release. The tricky part about this case is there was a balancing act, and I believe we made the right choice on this to release the information the way we did. This stems from a domestic related issue, and as you guys know, in the media we don't publicize domestic issues. The name and identity and location of the victim is protected. We don't release that, and a lot of times we don't stick our nose in people's private homes with domestic issues. A lot of times when you publicize the arrest of a suspect, they often share a name or may often share an address, so we try to be cognizant of that. However, that always has to be balanced with the bigger picture and the greater good for the public, and obviously we went in favor of publicizing this. As respectful as we'd like to be to the other half in this situation, we do realize that we had to get this information out. In this day and age, info gets shared pretty quickly, and people were aware that this happened at the school. The only detriment to that is people aren't aware of all the facts, and it's not a problem for them to do that. It just becomes a responsibility for us here at the police department to make sure that the facts are out. I started getting information requests from news outlets, and there was even put on television that there was an arrest made by Cape Coral Police for somebody with weapons on school grounds. And with a lot of information not in that story, I started to think that there's going to be some parents that are absolutely rightfully scared. We don't need a panic situation. We don't need masses of children not going to school because of this. That if that's the choice that they make, that's fine, but they need to have all the information to make an informed decision. So having weighed all of that, that was the reason why we decided to go against our norm of publicizing a domestic violence incident and put this out. So that's kind of the background as to what happened. A lot of the information wasn't known to myself. Last evening about 7 o'clock is when I became fully aware of what happened. I spoke with some of the commanders that worked during the day and got all of the facts that I could put out to try to walk that line of protecting the young woman who's the other side of this domestic situation, but also be mindful of the thousands of parents that have children in that school and the other people, administrators and teachers who work at the school who may not know what happened, and give them as much information to make an informed decision. So that's why the release was sent out last night at 6:56 p.m. about the fact that he was arrested for possession of a firearm on school grounds. Our officers made contact with him. The firearms were in a vehicle. They were not on his person when he was walking in, and I stressed the fact that there were no reports of any guns being displayed, and there were no threats to any children reported, and that it was an isolated incident between two people and not part of a greater situation. Having said that, I do realize that, especially in this city, that exact scenario played out into something very, very large. And for those of you who were with us during Bobby Noonan, it was a daycare in which a domestic situation spilled over into the school. So we do take these very serious. It's a national issue, obviously, with Sandy Hook and with suburban Atlanta recently, and even our own recent history in Cape Coral. We take these types of incidents very serious. So to give you a little bit of the background and still being mindful of protecting our other half of this, Mr. Pearson is having some marital issues with his wife, caused us to be called to the home over the weekend. There was a significant, or relayed to us, was a significant threat that he made to her. We have to take those credible and serious. On Monday, she was at work at the school. There was some communication back and forth between them. She rightfully let her administrators know. The administrators let us know immediately. We have an officer, two officers at the charter schools, being that they're city schools. We have an excellent relationship, an excellent communication flow between our charter school administration and the police department. So immediately Monday morning, we were made aware that there was an incident over the weekend, and that there was a potential in this woman's eyes that he might show up to school and start trouble. Being mindful of that, we were, I guess, on alert if you would use a word, just that he might show up. I don't want to, maybe alert isn't, I don't want a negative connotation with that. We were mindful that he may show up. Also relayed to us was the fact that he does carry firearms. And coupled with the fact that there was a dispute over the weekend, she relayed a threat from him to her, and the fact that she told us that he is known to carry weapons and may show up due to the communication between the two of them during the day. That to us is something that we need to act on. I think all of the students, the administrators, the teachers, and all the thousands of parents that have children in that school expect us to act on something like that, or at least be mindful. So that was the decision. There was some talk in the community as to, was this person randomly stopped? Was he just walking through the school? Absolutely not. So I hopefully have laid out the credibility of the intelligence that we had as to why we did what we did. Being that we were on alert, we saw his vehicle, or what we believe to be his vehicle, parked across the street from the school earlier in the day, while one of our officers was in with administration, radioed to a second officer. However, he was gone prior to arrival. Several hours later, he arrived back, exited the vehicle, was walking up towards the school, not armed, no confrontation, no problem. However, with everything that we laid out before, I believe we are duty-bound to make contact with this individual, and I think we'd be derelict if we did not. Our officers did so before he got into the school, made contact. What are you doing here? Dropping off a child for school. It was the last period of the day, which in and of itself is not suspicious, but combined with everything else, gave us pause, which I think a reasonable person would want to know what's going on. Because of the information that we had about the firearms, we asked, do you have any firearms on your person? No, I have them in my vehicle. Do you mind if we check? And a consent search was given. He gave us full consent to check. Does not have a concealed weapons permit. 2 firearms are located in the vehicle, 1 unloaded and 1 loaded. That is against school policy, and it is a violation of the law, and he was subsequently arrested for that. Was taken to jail. The information that I talked about in the beginning, the weighing and vetting, whether we put it out, was made. I still believe we made the right decision, with apologies to the other half of the domestic situation, like I said. And then upon release at midnight, the newsworthy part of this, I put it in the story. Again, it's not something that we would typically publicize, but because it's tied to this earlier incident, and I know that you guys have a job to do and you would ask about it, I put it in there so there's no deceit or hiding. He was served with a no-contact order, which is custom in these types of situations, a no-contact order prior to court, a pretrial release. I'm not exactly sure if it was a full-blown injunction, but all the rules are the same, no contact with our victim. Got out at midnight, shortly after midnight, began contacting her via text message, called our officers, we investigated, located him, and effected an arrest last night, or earlier this morning, I should say, about 2 in the morning, for a violation of the no contact order, and I believe at this moment he's still in Lee County Jail. The important points to note here, just to reiterate, I believe that we were duty bound to do what we did. I feel confident in the work that our officers did. I feel really good about the working relationship with the school. It would be easy to try to keep things like this under the rug. We just don't live in those times anymore, and we have a very good school system here at Cape Coral Charter Schools that realizes the importance of working with the police and are mindful of that, and it worked. The system worked yesterday. Things happen fast, things are dynamic. As far as getting the information out earlier, there's a lot of different factors as to why that happened or did not happen. I believe that in today's times with things coming out lightning fast, if you look at the time of the arrest and booking and put in jail a few hours to let everybody know, the last thing we want to do is put something out that's erroneous, incorrect, and perpetuate panic or any type of disparaging information about the school and put parents in a bad situation. So that's the story. That's what happened yesterday up to and including today. I will be more than willing to entertain any questions, and I know we have some members of the public here as well. I'd be willing to answer questions if I can. Be mindful that some of the stuff, especially for those who are not typical reporters that we deal with, some things I cannot get into for the case because I have to leave something for the prosecutors to deal with, but I will do the best I can for you guys.
What happens going forward, Tony, as far as security at the school this isn't something that may keep him behind bars for a long period of time. What happens going forward?
Going forward, the victim will be notified upon his release, which is customary. We do have officers at Cape Coral Charter Schools. We do have experience, and unfortunately, there's a history of something happening in Cape Coral. Not a parallel here, but just to let you know that it's not something that's in a faraway land for us. It is something that we are mindful of, and we will do our due diligence to keep the school safe.
Why wasn't the school put on lockdown?
It's an isolated incident. He was immediately removed.
Was there
But
any?
we put him on lockdown as opposed to the school.
You said he had guns in his vehicle. Any indication he brought those there for a purpose, or were they just in the vehicle?
We're not sure. That's still part of the investigation. I'm pretty confident that that's the opinion of the other half, but the legal system has to play out.
Were the guns legal?
They weren't stolen. As far as in Florida, they're legal. Pistols are legal.
Had the police department received any other threats or notice, except not including his wife, that he was making threats or a danger?
Any other calls you mean from
Yeah.
the school? No. There was no indication that there's a suspicious man or any danger. There was no third-party call.
Even before this incident?
Correct. Right. And this was something that we were aware of immediately. Again, I go back to that communication between the schools, administrators, and the police department, that there was no taken by surprise.
Said he was dropping off a child. Did he have a child with him?
Yes.
And has police, had they ever responded to any other domestic violence issues with the two prior to the one that happened this weekend?
I didn't research that far back. I know that that particular one, we did respond over the weekend.
You talked about a fairly direct threat that came over the weekend. Are you able to elaborate on that? Were guns mentioned in that threat?
I can't really get specific, David. I apologize for that, but it was credible enough that when all these dots are laid out, connected, I think it made our actions appropriate yesterday.
Did he ever enter? He never entered the school,
No.
correct? They got him outside?
Correct.
So as a city working with the school, and I really commend the way the officer was right on it and how the school handled it, but after I was thinking, the school can't be in proper lockdown, just the way it's built, and I just feel like it's impossible for one officer to keep 3 schools worth of children safe. Can't we have the teacher on a paid administrative leave and have the police protect one person versus
Sure.
1,000?
We have more than one. We have 2 there for the campus. Again, it's not ideal. I understand what you're saying. We'd like to have an officer in every hallway if we could. As far as I don't know if this woman is a teacher, so I don't know that. But that's the other side of it. It's very difficult when somebody has done nothing wrong and is a victim, and then to be further victimized. So it's a really difficult situation, and your concerns are valid, and I do know for a fact that the school is open to communication and speaking to parents about it. We just got off the phone, Sergeant Costa and I, with the administration before the conference, just getting everything up to the last minute. So I agree with you.
Are there procedures in place should something escalate further than this happen?
Yes, one of the things that we do here, and other law enforcement agencies do it, but I can only speak to us, we don't wait for tragedy to happen to be prepared, and that runs the gamut, from hazmat training to hostage negotiation training to even active shooter training, school code red incident training. We train at charter schools, we train at cross-train with the Sheriff's Department at elementary, middle, and high schools here, so that when something happens, it's not the first time we've done it mentally, so we are prepared. Hopefully that doesn't come to fruition, we don't have to do that, but if it does, and that's with any type of a critical incident here, we're prepared for it, hopefully are mindful that it may happen, hopeful that it doesn't.
Tony, there's a no contact order between the suspect and the individual who works at the school.
Correct.
Is there something between the school system or the city that says he can no longer go anywhere near the school?
He was trespassed from the school yesterday, in addition to the criminal charges. Yes,
How
ma'am.
long is a no bond order? What does that mean? Like, how long does he stay in jail now? Because I saw he was picked up again this morning.
He'll stay in jail, and you missed the beginning, or that part. Upon release from jail from the school incident, there was a no contact order that he had against him, and he violated that and was arrested. It's really up to the judge as to how long they're going to be, if bond is going to be issued, and if there is no bond, there'll be a bond hearing to try to get bond set.
Is that what that no bond means?
Correct. That means he's not able to bond out of jail. He has to sit until a judge reviews it. Again,
Like a day?
like David said, it's hard to say, ma'am. It's really up to the judge. Judges have the ultimate discretion in that, and they'll read the entire file. David is right. It's not a forever, it's not a life sentence. There will be a bond eventually set, or a bond hearing to have that done. It's important between now and then to make sure that all of our ducks are in a row, our training is up to date, and that the victim gets the services that she needs to help her in the situation too. Thank you, everybody.